Good evening. Welcome to another episode of the Coast to Coast podcast. It is Sunday. It is 8:30 Eastern time. This is going to be our new, hopefully, normal hour, a little bit easier. We were going, I think, 10 o'clock Eastern time before.
Oh, yeah, I might not make next week.
Not the easiest. But anyways, this is episode 39, Coast to Coast podcast. Thanks for joining us. Thinks the earth is flat. So it never sat well with me.
Do you want a company that refuses to use your call box or
have to be patient? I don't understand why Chelsea gave him the tax so quickly.
You want to know who's a cheap shot spread? Christian Laettner. You want to know who everybody talks about? Christian Laettner. You want to know who's one of the best basketball players ever in college? Christian Laettner.
So last week we got so caught up talking about some interesting baseball storylines, and if you listened last week, I also temporarily completely lost it. I apologize for that. But
why did you lose it last week? I can't remember.
we just because someone had a nickname that sounded like a god awful McDonald's extra value meal, and it was Anyways, we don't need to revisit. Former Mets manager Mickey, nicknamed McDickpick, and we're not going back there. Anyways, in all of that, we actually forgot. We had been talking a little bit about J.J. Watt. Since then, obviously, J.J. Watt has come out, made a decision regarding free agency. Also, a couple other, I'd say, highly notable recent contracts have passed in the NFL. First, I guess we'll go with right off the bat. I actually want to talk about Dak Prescott, Cowboys. We had Dave Gage on. I called him a Cowboys super fan. Definitely out of this group, he's probably the most up to date when it comes to the Cowboys. He's watching every Sunday. I'm curious, I was kind of surprised. I actually didn't think this deal was going to get done. And I don't know. Do you guys think this was actually in the best interest for the Cowboys? Are there any losers in this deal right now?
The Cowboys defense. The Cowboys defense loses. Mm-hmm. Like the first 4 games of the season that he played, they were 1-3 and should have been 0-4 on the worst attempt of an onside kickoff recovery in the history of football, probably by the Falcons. So,
legendary.
he can put up 35, 38 points a game. Without a doubt, that offense is unbelievable. And probably in that division, they are going to have a chance, over the next couple of years to go to the playoffs until Washington gets rebuilt with Rivera. We'll see where the Eagles go. They're probably, the last team to really pick as far as making noise over the next couple of years because of the rebuild that they have to go through. But, Joe Judge with the Giants and everything too is been under Belichick. He seems like he's got his stuff together. We'll see what his quarterback situation is. But, the fact of the matter is defense is going to still win championships in the NFL. I guess my point is the Chiefs scored 9 points, right? So this year, even though Tampa put up 31, the Chiefs have gone off for their 35 and 40 multiple times and won those games. But Tampa's defense was stout and everything. And Dallas doesn't have that type of defense. So I guess big picture, are they going to be able to win the division or have an opportunity? Yeah, because they play in the NFC least. But as far as playoff wins and stuff, they're just going to be another team that gets bounced in the first round.
So do you think the Cowboys shouldn't have opened up the checkbook for him? Me and Philip, actually, I think it was all the way back to season 1, one of the first episodes. We talked a lot about Kirk Cousins because Kirk Cousins was saying things like, all I want to do is win. All I want to do is win. And he signed an enormous contract with the Vikings that when you just look at it, you're like, okay, well, how else are they going to actually surround this guy with talent? How are they going to surround the defense with talent? And at the time, Tom Brady was still taking these absurd pay cuts over New England.
Just restructured his contract to take another one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's going to have weapons. His defense is going to be good. So go ahead.
I'll combat with the same thing I said then. I'm all for quarterbacks getting paid and for players getting paid what the market says they should make. However, signing Dak, and I think before I said I think Dak should leave and go to another team just because they didn't sign him give him the money that he thought he was due before, and they made him play an extra year. And it's if they're not going to, and then he got that injury, right? So it's more of hey, they didn't back you before, and then you got hurt. But I think Jerry Jones had to open the pocketbook because either Dak's gonna. I think Dak should have left. My problem isn't that signing; it's giving a running back Zeke the money they did. They paid Amari Cooper, Zeke. They paid everyone before the quarterback, and then they were like, "Oh, we have this team that's like offensive like weapons, and what do? We can't just not have a quarterback." So the only thing Jerry Jones could do was either pay Dak or trade for Russell Wilson, and maybe that's still in play. Maybe he's doing that to show. But
who was the AA quarterback they were starting at one point? The guy was like, it looked like he was throwing submarine at one time, like sidearm. I was rooting for him because he's from James Madison. James Madison regularly goes up.
Yeah, he actually played quite well. I can't remember what his name was, but
he did not play quite well. I watched that.
But you have to understand, like, when I say play quite well, like, for an Eagles fan, I'm like, yes, like, thank you. Thank you. Like, but
Jets fans were watching and they were like, that's a good quarterback right there.
Exactly. But the Dallas had to, because they were so bad when he got hurt. I mean, everybody thought Andy Dalton was going to be the next Nick Foles to come in and say, all right, well, he's been a starter. He's got the idea. He had the weapons still. And it's just not the case, which we didn't get into it, but I disagreed with Dave. He said he's like a top 15 quarterback. And I'm not going to say he's a top 5, but I think he's a top 10. I would like him on the Eagles, and I would have liked him on the Eagles over Wentz.
I would have loved him on the Patriots.
I definitely think he's committed, but what are these guys thinking when it's like an answer is written on the board for a kid? They're taking a test and all the answers are on the board. And Tom Brady has done this for now 20 years, 21 years, now is taking another pay cut. Like, there's a reason why he's always had either a really good defense or a couple guys that were, like, could get them over the edge. They were never heavily sided. Like, their offense was a top 5 offense, but their defense was, 25th to 30th.
The other thing is,
hang on, time out. Look and look at what that loyalty did with pay cuts. Eventually Belichick was like, yeah, I don't want to pay you anymore. And also, again, Tom Brady is in a position to take pay cuts because his wife makes more money than any quarterback in the NFL. So,
come on,
we have to take it into the context. Like, how much money does Dak Prescott's wife make?
But how much money did Dak Prescott have going into the NFL? So,
man,
like,
these guys have endorsement deals. There's so much. And the other thing is, if you win and taking pay cuts, when Tom Brady proved that he wins, you're going to get to play longer and longer and longer.
If it's between,
which means you're going to make more and more and more.
If it's between a quarterback taking a pay cut or a billionaire owner paying a luxury tax, I'm all for Jerry Jones paying more that way every time. So I'm all for players getting paid, especially what they're wanting their value. Just because the GM or the owner can't structure a team around to make it winning while paying a quarterback. Patrick Mahomes just got a ridiculous contract. He took his team to the Super Bowl, and maybe we're 2 guards away from winning it. Maybe it was 2 guard injuries away from winning it. So I don't like the argument of, like, you know what, all quarterbacks, because Tom Brady did it, should have to take a pay cut. That's absurd.
Well, we're not saying have
but
to.
I didn't say have to. I said, what? Like, you're in Dallas. You are in Chicago. You are in a small market like Denver or anything where, like, hey, they throw a ton of money at a guy. They want to fill the stands. They want to sell jerseys and everything. They're in Dallas. Like, the most historic franchise, probably, like, as far as social media, the media, like on TV, every freaking day you hear about the Cowboys, whether they're 16-0 or 0-16. And so you're expected to go to the Cowboys and you're expected to win. And you don't have that opportunity now. Like, they, win, but, like, they won a division.
Zeke's getting paid. Amari Cooper's getting paid. And we're like, well, but Dak's got to take that pay cut. Like, well, I don't understand why it has to fall on the quarterback.
I'm not saying it does, but I'm saying if the quarterback takes the blame, right? Like, nobody singles out Zeke every single week for losing the game. However, a quarterback will get singled out. So if I'm a quarterback, I say, I'm going to take majority of this heat. I'm going to surround myself with so many guys that even if I play bad, they can make up for me. Because Tom Brady won a Super Bowl scoring 13 points. Like, Tom Brady wasn't going to say, like, I won that Super Bowl. Like, no, like, his defense won that Super Bowl. Their scheme won that Super Bowl. So he had a team around him to go stop a prolific Rams team. And Dak, if they don't score 40 a game, 35 a game, they're going to finish below 500.
And also, when we use the Tom Brady Patriots analysis, we're forgetting that Bill Belichick's the GM. right? And he is smart with his money. He is smart with how he pays players. He lets players leave. He trades them 1 or 2 years early before their contracts are due. He did it with Jamie Collins. He did it with Chandler Jones. He's done it time and time again. He's let players go. So to say Dak do this and then to see all these other players getting paid, and again, if you're the person where all the blame falls on you, whether or not your team wins or loses, like all of that's always there. If I have all that responsibility and blame, yeah, I want to get paid because I could take a pay cut. The GM could squander that money. I could lose, and I'm still getting all of that negative feedback because I'm the quarterback. If I take a pay cut, if Dak takes a pay cut or anyone, it's not like the media is going to be like, hey, let's lay off him because he did take a pay cut after all. That's not going to matter to the media.
But
so,
I think honestly, with what Brady has done, and I don't care. I know you can't compare him. Like, he's the GOAT. I get it. Like, skill wise and everything. I'm not saying that. But I actually think because of all the huge contracts that have been signed by 2 or 3 year, quarterbacks, they're still on the rookie deals, that I think people would start to say, like, hey, Dak tried to do it right. The GM's the one that has screwed him. He's the one that hasn't, gotten the team around him. He took one for the team, and you still wanted to say, I don't want to go get that guy. I don't want to go get that guy. I mean, no matter what, people still want to go to Dallas and play. It's a great place. It's the nicest stadium. It's down south. It's football. And so I think he would take less heat
Texas
by taking that pay cut because it's so known now that as soon as a quarterback, Russell Wilson goes to 2 Super Bowls, should have won 2 Super Bowls, signs a huge contract, can't get out of the second round. Like it's over and over. Patrick Mahomes doesn't have an offensive line right now. His offensive line was hard to get less than what he had in the Super Bowl. It's less now. Like, he has no offensive line.
What's the lifestyle difference between making 17 million a year and 10 million a year?
But we're not even talking 17. So Brady was making 17. Like, he took a huge pay cut for what he was worth, right? We're talking if Dak's a $30 million guy.
Yeah.
Dak Prescott didn't have $10 in his pocket growing up, right? Like, came from nothing, busted his butt, which is why I respect him. I don't like him because he's a cowboy. But you're telling me you signed a $30 million contract and you're not going to be able to take care of everybody in your family? Because I get it. A lot of these guys come from nothing. They have a lot of guys in their pocket, friends, family, and stuff like that. You're telling me 30 million isn't gonna do it. And by the way, in 6 years, you're gonna get another 30 if you do a good job. He's gonna go sign someplace regardless. Like, he's a good quarterback. He's gonna be in the league for another 10, 15 years.
If the Cowboys want to win, have the billionaire pay the luxury tax. Jerry Jones is
Well,
football city. They're doing,
he
should stack the defense, and he should be like, you know what? If we're mad about the contracts, it shouldn't fall on Dak. It should fall on, us overpaying for Amari Cooper. It should for us paying for Dak, a running back, where you can find. Look at the Bucks running backs. Someone that was cut and Ronald Jones. Like, you don't have to pay running backs. Like, the idea that GMs keep doing this.
Wasn't it Maurice Jones-Drew as well?
You're thinking LaShawn McCoy. But you don't have to pay these running backs this kind of money. You don't they're
I don't
generation. So I don't like the idea of just saying oh yeah,
Leonard Fournette. That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, 30 million to 20 million. What's the difference? The difference is you see when you're making 20 and you see someone that you're better at making 10 or 15 million more than you, it's insulting. It's competitive. These guys are competitive, and they want to take care of not only the family they have now, they want to take care of their kids, their grandkids, their future grandkids. That's generational wealth and poverty that, especially, growing up without that, where you can be like, I can rewrite the history of my family for a long time. So I don't know. I don't like the argument.
But
I think
once you have
should
that
build
kind
teams.
of millions, that money is just going to accumulate regardless.
And he's a smart player anyway. Like that, you're talking a quarterback who is a smart guy. He's going to invest the right way. But you have a guy like Zeke. Are you really telling me drafting Zeke, you didn't? And this, I know this is off topic. You really don't think you were going to run into problems down the road?
You should have traded him
at Ohio State. How do you think he's going to come to Dallas and he's going to be a great role model? He's not going to want to be selfish. All he's been is selfish. So I agree. Zeke didn't have to take it. Cooper didn't have to take it. Positionally, though, those are selfish positions. A wide receiver wants the ball every position, every play.
Running back careers don't last too long either.
8 years at the most. And Zeke, has already fallen off. Fumbling this year. I mean, he lost 2 games on his own.
I mean, look
Dak
at Todd
ran-
Gurley. I don't even know where Todd Gurley is anymore, but at one
Yep.
point he was one of the best, and then he was basically cut
Yeah,
by the
and I
man.
do agree with you. Like paying running backs like these guys are crazy. I 100% agree with you. But I think if you could like sit down, like, hey, I've got a quarterback and I got a running back that I want here as long as they can play. Like, take 7 million less each of you. You got 14 million, and you can go get a defensive line. You can go get that.
Well, that's the thing.
guy.
That's the thing. Like with Jerry Jones, is they should have talked with Dak. He should have been the first one they signed because he's the quarterback, the face of the franchise. And if he was willing to do that, great. If not, then you package Zeke and you send him, and you save that money. But you don't go, I'm going to pay Zeke, I'm going to pay Amari Cooper, and then go, hey Dak, I know we didn't pay you, but would you take a pay cut now? Like he's like, I just saw Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes signed for a lot of money. Yeah, but could you? I know I'm a billionaire and we're the biggest franchise, but I really don't want to pay the luxury tax. GTFO, man.
My favorite part of that is they signed Zeke, and he was in his prime, right? He was a top 2-3 running back in the league. And then Jason Garrett threw the ball 50 times a game. And I was like, that's it, right? Like, good money. Like, do not hand that guy the ball 30 times a game. Like, do not let him rush for 150 yards and 3 touchdowns. Like, keep doing those swing passes and stuff. No problem.
Wonderful. We've
All right.
talked about the Cowboys way too long.
I know. We're moving on here. I was trying to find an opening here. What does J.J. Watt do for Arizona now? Like, are
Gets
these
them
guys
to the playoffs? I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to figure this out. I was thinking about it. I'm like, man, Arizona's lucky. And then I was like, wait a minute. I don't really know why he chose Arizona. I could have been missing something. I didn't really look into it a whole lot. But, like, I remember Patriots beat Arizona last year. And we weren't a good football team this past year. So I was like,
Patriots are always a good football team. Sometimes we just lose.
Yeah, I can't believe I just said that.
Fake news.
Yeah, I take it back. But, like, why Arizona?
I don't. Maybe he really believes in Kyler Murray. Maybe he knows DeAndre Hopkins. Maybe he likes him. Maybe he heard good things. Maybe he's in talks with him, and he's like, "Hey, I wonder, like, when you have a relationship with someone like DeAndre Hopkins, and he's maybe talking to you a little bit and encouraging you, and you're like, hey, this team's up and coming. We almost made the playoffs. We had you. We could have. Our quarterback's only going to get better. They have a decent wide receiving core. Their defense is pretty solid. It's a real tough division, but." Yeah, it didn't make a lot of sense to me if you wanted to win a championship, but maybe he wants to be a part of growing that team and seeing where they can go.
Yeah, I thought about. Go ahead.
JJ Watt's got to be like starting the downside of his career. Like, I'm not trying to. I mean, the guy's an unbelievable athlete, but I mean, he's not 23 years old anymore either. And to go to a team that I assume he wants to compete for a chance for a Super Bowl right here, and I don't know, just Arizona? Like,
I guess that because I thought the same thing. Like, what are you doing? Like, you have the Rams, you have the Seahawks, like even the 49ers, obviously, if they come back. But
all teams in the same division.
Yeah, I mean, and then I think what it says is like Hopkins coming from the Texans and obviously having a relationship with him. I think everybody should be excited about the Cardinals because you've got a guy like Hopkins who, obviously is going to tell you how he feels. He's the best wide receiver in the game and stuff. Not that he's a bad guy or anything, but I really think it says he probably got him on the phone and was like, hey, I really believe in what Cliff Kingsbury's doing. Like, this team really believes in him. Like, we have a great culture here because he didn't even have that at Texas Tech. I mean, he had Mahomes and they had a losing record.
To be fair, DeAndre Hopkins might not even know what a good culture is because he came from Texas. He's like, he's like, they give us Capri Suns and oranges at halftime. This place is great. This is amazing.
but I really do. I really think that they believe it. I think he believes in Kyler Murray. I mean, obviously he just had a career year too, so it's hard.
Kyler Murray's stud.
But I mean, I'm really excited to see what they've kind of got for this next gear. Because, I mean, what are they? A win away from going to the playoffs this year? And everybody would have said it was a successful season, right? Them getting to the playoffs.
In the division of the Rams, Seahawks, and 49ers. That's tough.
That's a tough division right now.
And that's got to be the toughest division, right? Like, overall, thinking about when obviously Garoppolo was hurt and stuff like that. But, I mean, I think everybody should be pretty excited to watch them this year based on – I mean, J.J. Watt's not a dumb guy. I don't think he's going to go to a place that he thinks he's going to go 6-10 like, he would have this year with the Texans.
Yep. All right. Last NFL topic here. Patriots news.
Cool.
Not breaking news or anything. Signed Cam Newton to a very incentive-laden deal. Philip, fellow Patriots fan, how did you feel when this news broke?
When I got the email that said adding Cam to the list, I thought you were adding your friend Cam to the episode. And I was like, all right, I don't know what Cam has to say. And then I got on ESPN and I saw the news and I was like, oh, that Cam. I thought he was out of my life. I didn't know he was coming back. I forgot he had COVID last year, so I was like, well, maybe that's why he was terrible. And I forget how bad his touchdown numbers were, like throwing.
He had
Just-
two?
It was like 8. I think it was like
yeah.
8 and 10 or 10 and 8, like something like that.
I think it was
And
8.
yeah,
He also
8.
ran for like 12.
Yeah,
That can't be a real stat.
I think he ran for like 10 or something.
Well, we
Yeah.
can't think. Like, was it 6 or was it 12?
no, I'm
No,
pretty sure.
it was more than passing. Like it was a high number. 12. It was 12. I was right. 12. Just fact checked it live on the air. We
I
do
mean,
that
20
now.
touchdowns. Like, I mean,
Yeah, last year he had 8 touchdowns and 10 interceptions.
so
And
20.
12 rushing touchdowns.
How many fumbles? I
Yeah.
know one.
Several, including one at a critical moment against Buffalo, where we
So-
were 20 yards away
here's
from
my take.
winning the game.
I like any quarterback the Patriots sign, I wouldn't, unless it's Deshaun Watson. Like, I'm not super excited about, because like who's this quarterback going to throw it to?
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah, no, we
Like
need more weapons.
35-year-old Julian Edelman, who
We don't even know if he's coming back right now.
if
His
we don't know
his
if he's
knee
coming
is
back.
that
I love
bad.
Jules. I love
Yeah.
Jules.
Is Allen Robinson
like-
still waiting to decide something?
I don't know. So we have N'Keal Harry, who's about like what the Patriots need to do, what Bill Belichick needs to do is find whoever the Steelers wide receiver scout is and just double his salary and be like, you're working for us now, because the Steelers pick wide receivers so good year after year after year. And whoever's doing that, just Patriots need to find them, because we can't draft a receiver to save our lives. And Bill Belichick's not trading for one. I don't know how we didn't get DeAndre Hopkins or the Bills. Help me out here.
So the guy from the Vikings.
Adam Thielen?
No, the guy who
no.
went from the Vikings
He
to
went from the
the
Vikings. Diggs.
Diggs.
Oh,
Like, how are
Stephon
we not
Diggs.
making moves
Sorry,
for
I tuned
any
out.
of these guys? So I'm fine with having Cam for a year because he can run and we have no one to throw to.
Are there any
I'm
more
not excited for our
lacrosse-
season.
Are there any more lacrosse players we could pick up to
I
maybe
wonder if there's a
run
lacrosse
some routes
quarterback.
for us?
I wonder, like, like the movie The Scout, or like the where they just go out and he's like scouting like lacrosse tournaments across the country, and like, you've never thrown a football, that's okay, you can learn.
Oh man.
I think it just solidifies my poetry bet that they're not going to make the playoffs, and it's a 9-7
Ooh.
record.
I'm still a Cam Newton believer right now. I think he was doing well before he got COVID.
Yeah.
I think the shortened training season affected things. I think we had a terrible. If we don't add anyone around him, okay, like it doesn't matter who's the quarterback. And that
Our
actually
defense,
kinda-
our defense is coming back. Didn't we have
Which is
6
why I
people
gave
that
you
didn't
2
play
more.
last year?
That's why I gave you 2 more wins. But you have to remember, everybody else is getting better too. Like the Dolphins
Are
situation.
the Jets getting better?
But okay, so you beat the Jets twice. Okay, you beat the Jets twice. So okay, but you have
We'll
the
split
Dolphins,
with
you
Miami
have the
like we
Dolphins.
always do, and if we can split with the Bills,
we can
there's
split
4.
with the Bills. We should have split with them last year. We should have
Yeah.
won our first meeting against them.
But again, you should have. And Cam Newton was the one that fumbled. So if you would have said their backup, Stidham threw 4 picks and you lost by a field goal to the Bills, I would have said, okay, you have a legitimate argument there. The Bills are only going to get better.
Yeah, it's
Josh Allen is a freaking stud and has got to be a top 2 or 3 MVP candidate this year going into the season. He's only gotten better. The Bills defense, and Sean McDermott is a extremely good coach. I'm not saying he's a Belichick, but I'm saying if there's somebody that could really figure out how to beat Belichick, it's probably him.
Were you
The
saying he
thing
was
that
a
you
good
do have
coach?
going for you is you finished 3rd in the division, so your schedule will be a little weaker.
Were you saying he was a good coach when he benched Tyrod Taylor and put in that quarterback that threw 6 interceptions in the first half?
But that's
Were
also
they tanking that year?
No,
Well,
they made the playoffs
they made the
that
playoffs.
year.
They
It
made
was
the
the most absurd quarterbacking decision I've ever seen. They were
Well,
500.
Are you saying Bill Belichick's the greatest coach of all time, and he let the greatest quarterback of all time walk out the door and go win a Super Bowl?
Touche.
Yeah, touche. I knew I shouldn't have started that one.
Thank you.
Yeah, I retract my statement. All right, moving along here. College basketball. It's March. Everyone knows what that means. It's March Madness. This year, hopefully, we get through the entire tournament. We started the tournament last year, and then, as everyone knows, COVID-19 hit. Tournament did not finish. I'm just going to be really honest here. I'm not the biggest college basketball fan. I think it's actually way more fun to watch than the NBA. I've just never really had a team, but this year's different. I have a team this year, and I will explain that. But first, I want to turn to Eric, noted Christian Lantner fan, Duke basketball fan. Eric, 26 straight years of getting to watch Duke in March Madness, competing for the national championship. 26 years. And today it's over. How do you feel?
Well, COVID got us. We don't know who would have been, if they would have been an at-large team or not.
Actually, I hate to cut you off here and be rude, but I looked this up right before the episode started because I figured you might say that.
Yeah.
And Duke actually did not officially withdraw their name from the selection, whatever they called. So actually they could have been selected. They were officially not selected for the tournament.
Boy, that's a piece of information I missed in the old Duke headlines.
Yeah, they're gonna not put that in there.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for me. Honestly, as a sports fan, like they didn't deserve to make it. Obviously, as a Duke fan, it's disappointing, but really, again, what would have they done? Lost in the first round. I mean, I think the bracket this year. So I'm a big college basketball fan. Definitely probably more than you guys are. It was so disappointing to watch this year because of so few fans, and not just Duke, a lot of the teams and everything, because the atmospheres are just so awesome. I mean, at one point this year, for the first time, I think in the history of college basketball, or 30, 40 years, Duke, UNC, and Kentucky weren't ranked at the same time. And it was, obviously Kentucky's always been a blue blood forever. North Carolina, same thing. So literally dating back forever, that one of them at least wasn't, ranked. And so it took away from it. So I was looking at the bracket before we hopped on, and it is unbelievable to see the matchups. I think with how disappointing the regular season and everything was, I think the tournament is actually going to be a lot of fun because you have a ton of Power 5 schools that are like 8 and 9 seeds. So you have UNC and Wisconsin play each other in the first round as an 8-9 seed. And then the 1 seed's got to turn around and play 2 historically good programs, obviously UNC forever and Wisconsin over the last 20 years. So you're not going like your typical VCU as an 8 or 9 seed going up against like a Baylor or, a normal 1 seed. So I think there are going to be a lot of quote unquote upsets this year. Which I think is going to make it a lot of fun if you can call a Power 5 school beating another Power 5 school an upset.
Yeah.
But it was just, next year I think is just going to be so much better. I mean, I didn't watch it as much as I normally do. I think the team to watch is Oklahoma State. They've got a young coach. It might even be his first year. I followed him a little bit. And they've got this kid Cunningham who is going to be the number 1 draft pick, I guess. And they've just been on late and everything a lot when I get home from work and I'll turn them on. And the Big 12 is a really good basketball conference. And these guys can play. Yes. And they play hard. They love their coach. You can tell this Cunningham kid can take over a game and go off. And so I literally on the first bracket that I picked, I actually found myself, they made the Final Four because of the road they have. And I think it's an actual thing, like a sleeper pick. They're a 4 seed, but I think I ended up having in the first bracket, I filled out. I love Baylor. I think they're super athletic. I think they have, they're really well coached defensively, offensively. They got guys all around the floor, and I've got them beating Gonzaga in the finals.
This is how out of touch I was.
Zaga. Zaga.
I looked up the bracket. And I just kind of printed it out because I wanted to make sure I knew who was what. And I looked and I saw Baylor had a 1 seed. And I was like, wait a minute, did I accidentally print the
women's.
the women's bracket? And then I like started looking at them like, oh yeah, they're nasty this year. So let me ask you this. If you don't have an answer, that's fine. Give me like an obscure team that you think could potentially go on a run.
Morehead State.
Morehead State?
Yeah, so they played, Belmont was like 27-3 this year, and Morehead State swept them.
Yeah.
And they score. I mean, they get, like, they're a team. I can't remember what bracket they're in or something, but if they draw a team like the Virginia teams that cannot score, like the Texas Techs, the Virginias, those guys, like they could get on a serious run real quick. I can't remember who they play. I think they're a 14 seed, so they play a 3 seed. Might even be like Arkansas, which Arkansas is a very good program. But I'm telling you, like, these guys can put the ball in the bucket, and they're going to be as athletic as anybody. So if they play a team that does not have a couple big guys down low to like bang them around and slow the game down, you do not want to get into a track meet with them.
There's a couple other teams too that have some really good. Obviously, they don't play the strongest schedule, but they know how to win. You got Winthrop 23-1. They're a 12 seed, and then I couldn't believe this. I thought this must have been a typo. Colgate at 14-1. That was I don't know how that happens. Grand Canyon. I know at one point they were a Division III school, then a Division II school. Their stadium, by the way, their atmosphere at their games is insane. I watched a couple of YouTube videos of what their games are like. It's one of the best atmospheres in the country. But yeah, my team this year, if you're out there, like, don't sleep on these guys. I'm already being disrespectful by starting to laugh. Mount St. Mary's, coached by the one and only Dan Engelstad. Unfortunately, they got put in a play-in game, hoping they get by that and make it into the 64. But Mount St. Mary's, Dan Engelstad's their head coach. I believe he's the youngest head coach in Division I. Before, he was a Division III coach at Southern Vermont College. That is where I was working. Actually had an office right next to this guy. Played pickup basketball with this guy. I can tell you he is super competitive and he knows how to win. During his time at Southern Vermont, by the way, this guy was driving vans. He was driving his team in vans to games, and now he just won a conference title at Mount St. Mary's in his 3rd year, and he's about to coach the NCAA tournament. Wherever this guy goes, he finds a way to win. His first year at Southern Vermont, he inherited a team that was ranked 3rd from the bottom of the entire country in Division III. He got the job over the summer. His first game in his first year was against Williams College. Williams had at the time the player for the Miami Heat. I'm blanking on his name. Duncan Robinson that jacks all the threes. Williams is coming off. It was either a Final Four appearance or an NCAA championship appearance. Yeah. I don't know, but they were ranked 4th in the nation. Dan's team is ranked 415th in the nation, or something like that. First game ever as a head coach at the college ranks, and they won. Over his next 5 years, so his first year they didn't make the championship. His next 4 years, they finished 1st in the league every single year, hosted every single championship. It was incredible. It was fun to watch. This guy is also a great guy, married, 2 young kids, incredible family. He is a nightmare to play pickup basketball with. I mean that in a nice way because he is.
Why does he play like Russell Westbrook?
No, he's a nightmare isn't fun, like super competitive. But
okay,
like I remember I played pickup, like no one else was around. It was the summer. He's like, you want to play 1-on-1? I'm like, no, but yeah, sure. And we played 4 straight games. I lost every game 10-0 or 10-1. And in one of the games, like he was up 9-0. I drove. I made this wild layup. He's like,
how did you not score? You scored 1 point in 4 games.
Man, this dude's all about defense. Like he's in your face. Like it's not like, hey, you can just jack up a 3. Like no, like he doesn't want. It's not that he doesn't want you to score. He doesn't want you to get a shot off. So like I made this wild, out of control layup. He's like, that was a good shot. And then I'm like going back or about to check the ball. He's like, it was a BS shot. Like you had no business making that. Like that was lucky. But hey, like good shot.
What? How is he? Does he have height on you? Does he have like 7 inches?
He's got some height on me.
Yeah,
but he's
tall.
He's literally all about defense. His teams are super fun to watch.
I love the idea of he's like, hey, you want to play 1-on-1? And then he just like destroys you. I wonder if he does that to like kids at the park. Yeah. Like 13-year-olds are shooting and he's like, get that out of here.
When we play like 3-on-3, like he's competitive. He wants to win. And it's a lot of fun. But I'm telling you, when you play this guy 3-on-3 and your team starts winning and he's on the other team, oh my God, it's one of the best feelings in the world. But like it carries into other things. Like I golfed with him once at a bachelor party and the guy was driving the golf cart at like 100 miles an hour, and I'm terrible at golf, so I'm already a little bit intimidated. This dude's good, and like that golf cart, like you're holding on, like it's just next shot, let's go. But I mean, the dude's just a winner. So Mount St. Mary's, keep an eye on him for the next couple of years as well. I mean it. This guy.
Yeah. I remember leaving. Yeah. I was leaving Southern Vermont around that time, like transferred and everything, went back and got to know him. And I remember seeing the previous teams, my first couple of years there. And, they had some players, right? Like they won some games in the conference and everything, normally finished middle of the pack. And then I came back and I was like, who is this guy? Because I walked in the gym and I'm like, I've been to one Division.
It's one of the worst gyms in the country. Like this school doesn't exist anymore. It closed. It was that bad.
And you walked in that gym and you were like, I'm at the Duke practice. I'm at the UNC practice. Like there's no way anybody runs a better practice than this guy. And he's like an awesome guy. I got to know him a little bit and everything. So yeah, the best of luck to Dan. Like kill it for all those, all those coaches that started at some small school and didn't just get thrown on a staff because you knew somebody. Like he did it the right way. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All I can think about is that we need to get Greg a one-on-one coach to learn how to like create your own shot. You just gotta, you need
I know how to create my own shot. This man knows how to defend, and he's proven it like with his teams as well. Like
honestly, like he's probably he'll probably get a Power 5 job.
He's going to keep winning. I mean, but he's got a lot of ties to Mount St. Mary's as well.
Yeah.
I got a pick. So I don't follow college basketball that much. But no, hang on. I do like to bet and things like that, but there's a small team out of Spokane, Washington.
There we go.
And I got to go with them, representing Washington. So I'm going to pick, if you guys haven't heard them, it's Gonzaga, pronounced Gonzaga. And so that's my pick to win the tournament. I feel pretty good about it. If you guys haven't heard, they're solid. For
everybody that's out in Spokane, Washington,
all five.
I would like to know what high schools they play to be 37-0 or whatever they're going to finish.
They play Dover's high school.
Dover, like people. They do this it matters who you play. And I understand that's a really good program. I can't remember their head coach. Mark Few knows what he's doing. We had a buddy in college that we lived with that was a huge Gonzaga fan. However, it doesn't even matter because they play absolutely nobody. And Adam Morrison was their best player, and it was back when JJ Redick was at Duke, and he just used to rag on me. And Adam Morrison played 2 years in the NBA. JJ Redick missed the playoffs for the first time last year in his career, and that's the best player to come out of Gonzaga, whatever. And they went 37-0 going into a national title a couple years ago, and they lost to UNC 37-1. Kentucky was 38-0. Going into a Final Four, which they lost to Wisconsin. And I went that was still the best basketball team in the country that year. Duke won the national title, and Kentucky was still the best. They had Anthony Davis. They had all those guys.
I think it says a lot, though, however, that Gonzaga is, repeatedly the number one seed. And how many lottery?
Win.
Well, no, wait. How many lottery picks do they send to the NBA?
Adam Morrison.
Yeah, exactly. And they're still that good, and they're still that competitive. They're not getting the top recruits. They're not getting Zion Williams. They're not getting all these players, and they still compete. So, yeah, maybe they don't go as far, but you also have to understand, they play more team basketball and oriented. They don't have the stars that all these other teams have. They don't have these draft picks that go in the NBA. Adam Morrison might have been one of the more successful Gonzaga stories, and that's not saying much, but they're still number one seed. They still made it to the championship in 2017. They're always competitive. Yeah, they've had some bad tournaments, but again, they're playing without the blue chippers that all these other places have, because Gonzaga and Spokane is not an attractive place to go.
I think now, if you would look at their roster, I'm not saying they're going to get a guy like Zion or anything, and I don't, top 5 pick or whatever, but they've got guys that will come out of there. I think if you were to say you have to pick a winner, I refuse to pick them strictly because of a buddy of ours in college. I refuse to pick.
It was pretty tough.
They got to be like, I like them. They've got to be the underdog. Again, they're doing it with nothing. This is like, if you looked at the NBA teams, this is the team this is the Dallas Mavericks, the Detroit Pistons, the teams that won without that guy. And it's really cool to see. And I'm rooting for Gonzaga to pull through, to break, because they do have trouble in the tournaments. They do kind of underperform a lot of the time. And maybe that's because of the soft schedule. Maybe they're not getting that competition that they need to be tested. And I was talking with a buddy who's a Gonzaga fan. He was like, I wish they would have lost before going into the tournament, because they're not facing any of that. They're not facing, that kind of adversity going in. And you really, as like a 19, 20-year-old, like that's important to like have going into the biggest tournament of your life. So I think their knock is actually
like
what you
a
said.
couple of years ago, being the first team ever to lose to a 16 seed. Like you got to experience some adversity before you're expected to go on a 6-8 game run or whatever to win the national tournament.
And I would agree with Eric. Like their schedule isn't as hard as other places, and that probably hurts them in the tournament. But I still think that they're talented. I still think that they're good, and I think if they would have played a few more competitive games throughout, that they would have probably a better shot year to year to make it to that Final Four, be more consistent. But I'm rooting for them. They don't get everyone that the quality of players that all the big schools do, but they're always a number one seed and they're always competitive. And my hat off to that. So go Gonzaga.
Right. But moving along here, we're going to get to our weekly undelivered award of the weeks, as always, sponsored by UPS. If you're unfamiliar why, tune into our original episode 10 or episode 17, where we talk quite a bit about the success of UPS. And again, we're thank them very much for their continued sponsorship. Philip, I believe you had one for this week.
I have a couple. I mean, first, I think it should be noted first it should be noted that Eric is still wearing a headset. So last episode was Greg as UPS, and he's still wearing this headset. I don't know why Greg didn't ship it. He's like, I have to. I won an award. The second part, I was like,
doesn't even work. Greg just told me my headset wasn't even working, so now I'm sit here like this because now my headset doesn't work. I don't have a cool microphone still like you guys.
Yeah.
I got nothing now. It was literally on my calendar.
It's a disaster.
Yeah. So
two-time award winner right here.
That's
Sorry,
one.
on, Phil.
I was also between, do I give it to the NBA dunk contest? Do I give it to the All-Star game? Because that didn't deliver. But no, I'm going to go to James Dolan. For those of you who didn't know, recently, Patrick Ewing, one of the most famous New York Knicks basketball players outside of Jeremy Lin, who has his jersey retired in the rafters. In the rafters? No, I don't know.
Raptors?
Maybe it was yeah, like the dinosaur. There's raptors up there. They guard it. That's how coveted of a basketball player he is. The security didn't know who he was, and they kept kind of hassling him and these things. And if you're James Dolan, and the person that helped build Madison Square Garden, who would have brought you a championship had it not been for one, Michael Jordan, or two, John Starks in Game 6 of the NBA Finals against Houston, you would have had an NBA championship. And the most decorative player that's ever worn a Knicks jersey, like if he's going to be at your stadium and you respect all that he did for your organization, you let your staff know. Like you roll out the red carpet, you do things to make him feel comfortable and at home and be like, hey, your jersey's there. We're going to treat you whenever you're here. We want you to know we're happy you're here because of all that you've done. So I would be a
priority.
It should be. And that's not up to the security, right? If some of the security guards that are probably like not really around, like maybe they're like 22, 23, 24. I don't know how old these people are. Maybe they're even from New York. Maybe they moved there. Maybe they don't know Patrick Ewing. Maybe they don't even care about basketball, and that's fine. But you're James Dolan, and you should care about your players. And this just goes to why would anyone want to play to New York? When you see like James Dolan, like this player that did everything for you, that gave his career in his knees for you, and you're like not even giving him the proper respect, the proper due, proper recognition when he's in the building. You're not even gonna let him in the door. Like, so James Dolan, and that's just how he is as an owner. Like, you don't even know when Patrick Ewing's going to be in your building. Get out of here. What are you doing? It's COVID. You should know this. Like, he should be greeted. He should have a team. You should be there shaking it. Well, not shaking his hand, but I mean, you would probably try to. But so it's James Dolan. People giving heat to the security team, they shouldn't. It should be directed towards James. And whenever Patrick Ewing is in that building, he should move mountains just to make sure that he feels good.
Phil,
Because that's how you treat your players.
I have a question for you. How bad of a person is James Dolan? Like, how bad of a person?
On a scale of like 1 to Satan, like what are we talking
like,
here?
How bad?
I want to know what's in the
there's
middle of
bad
that scale.
owners. Like, there's bad owners, right? I would say Jerry Jones is probably considered a bad owner now.
How about this? Robert Kraft to Donald Sterling. If
Yeah,
that's
that's a
the
good one.
scale. Where is James Dolan?
Gosh. I
Like,
mean,
is it Sterling's brother? I mean, he's got to be close.
he's pretty close to Sterling.
Yeah.
I just don't understand what. I don't get how you can do that with it. You have a superstar that could maybe get you guys to like sign with the Knicks, right? Like, I just don't understand.
How
So-
Patrick Ewing never got a coaching job in the NBA?
Do you know the Knicks
was
offered
beyond
him
me.
the D League job after 10 years of being an NBA assistant?
I didn't know
After
that.
10 years, they offered him their D League job. Like, you're watching Steve Nash has never coached a day. I mean, I'm sure he's done like some sort of coaching, but never some sort of professional career coaching at all. Gets a head coaching gig with one of the best teams. You have Patrick Ewing that's actually worked at his craft. I don't know if he's mastered his craft, but he's put in the hours. He's put in the time. He's a Hall of Famer, and you offer him your D League gig after
He just took
10
Georgetown's
years?
in the tournament. Georgetown just
Yeah.
went to the Big East finals, and
Yep.
the Big East is not what it has been over the last 10 years when like UConn and all them started to like leave. I think actually UConn's back, but they're good. Like the Big East is good, and he got Georgetown to the finals, and like they started like killing people. They beat Creighton by like 35 in the semi. It was incredible.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
James
that's good.
Dolan. I feel bad for Knicks fans.
I do
So-
too, actually. I'm not a big fan of New York in general, but I feel bad for Knicks fans. That guy's just got it.
Sorry, Spike Lee. It's kind of rough.
Yeah. All right, final topic here, the one that gets all the followers and comments on TikTok, which, by the way, you should follow us on TikTok. You should also follow us on Patreon, Instagram, Facebook, and make sure you subscribe to our podcast. Again, this is the live version that's on Facebook and YouTube. Just a reminder, you can comment along, especially during trivia right now. But you can also listen to the audio version. That's on Stitcher, iTunes, Spotify. It's wherever you get podcasts. Feel free to leave us a review, but definitely subscribe. All right, first question. These are different questions.
Did
I
your
don't
dad
know.
help with any of these? And is your dad
Greg, I have a
watching?
question.
Yes, Eric.
Is it prescribe or subscribe?
Subscribe. Did I say prescribe?
Yeah, like I get prescribe, like
Raptor, Rafter,
yeah,
prescribe.
no, that's this isn't a vocab show, everybody.
Good English today. And it's Sunday. We're in season over here. It's a 7-day work week now normally for me.
I'm hungover.
Prescribe.
I'll be honest.
What time is it?
it's 6:20.
I've done absolutely nothing all day. I've like slept on the couch and done a puzzle. I'm just like, oh god.
Did a puzzle. Oh
I'm
my
old
God.
now. Like 3 drinks. I'm done, man.
Did you drink Friday? You're still. Oh man. Oh, jeez. All right. Again, these are different questions. I don't know if I'm going to ask these kind of questions again, but they're out there. We'll see. First question.
You're right. Who won the cornhole championship and what is his middle name?
I think it's on
No,
ESPN 2 right now.
Not that kind of different. All right. First question. What is the diameter of a basketball hoop in inches? I was kind of curious if this was like common
Do we
knowledge. or
get multiple choice?
What is the diameter of a basketball hoop in inches? I will give you a multiple choice option. Is it A, 16 inches, B, 17 inches, C, 18 inches, D, 19 inches?
What was the biggest one?
I think I
Eight-
just said
18
16 through 19.
18 inches.
Eric
Yeah.
is locked in at 18 inches.
I'm gonna go with 18.
18 inches is correct. How many total minutes of action are there in an average baseball game?
Hey, Greg, this is not going to build my sport.
So I will say this number
Dude.
is actually very similar to the NFL.
The number
So-
would also go up if people could bat flip.
I don't think that's part of the action.
That live
No,
action.
it's action. You see
So
that bat in
live
the air?
action. So you mean that when the pitcher starts his windup, that counts?
Yeah. So like the dead time where they're like changing baseballs and all this stuff, like in between.
How long is a baseball game?
Like 3 hours.
Yeah.
I'm going to say
Yeah.
16 minutes.
That is the average NFL time. Well,
Is it?
but it's usually around 16. Yeah.
Okay, I'll go with.
Now you're done, Eric.
I'm done. Locked in.
You're close, kind of. You're close.
Oh
I don't
wow!
wanna-
Way to give hints to Eric on what it is.
Yeah.
Now he knows it's not 16. Unbelievable. If I had multiple choice, I would have crushed this for the record.
I had to throw in some questions that I knew my dad wouldn't get.
I feel like I'm overthinking it. Like I'm trying to like literally calculate in my mind like how long it takes to like if 16, I'll go under. I'll go 13.
Wow, not a lot. That you are hurting your sport now. It was an over. It was 18 minutes. What is Canada's national summer sport? And depending on what you read, some people actually said this answer is Canada's national sport. I added summer because there's a little bit of it was a little confusing. I had to actually do some background research, whatever the hell that is. What is Canada's national summer sport?
Summer. Do they get summers?
They do.
Like
You know, it's the oldest sport in Canada.
It's the
saying
oldest sport.
apologizing to people.
No, in 1965, Parliament said that that's no longer a sport.
hmm.
Tradition continues, though. Eh.
I have no idea.
Really?
I was thinking. I wanted to say curling.
Yeah,
but
so did I, but you said summer sport.
I'm gonna say curling anyways because it's still cold over there.
Correct answer is actually lacrosse.
Ew.
How is Bill Belichick not drafted a Canadian lacrosse player?
Good question. Good question. Final question. What? I'll be impressed if you guys get this. Well, I thought you were going to get the last one, but what country has competed the most times in the Summer Olympics without winning any medals ever?
Any medals ever? Is it a well-known country or is it like something that like we really have to think about?
Oh,
Like is it,
I think I have mine.
there's only 10 people competing for the country?
I've always known about this country, but that's because my stepdad was always talking about it growing up because of its size.
Greenland.
Greenland is not a country. It is a territory of Denmark, unless that's changed recently, which maybe it has.
I'm going to say
It's
Canada.
in Europe. It's in,
Oh,
what are
dang
you
it.
talking about?
What?
Canada?
You're not good at
There's
summer
two more
sports?
guesses here.
Seriously, you just guessed Canada? Canada had one of the most famous sprinters of all time, Ben Johnson. Yeah, he was roided out, but
Boy, hey, thanks
Canada-
for taking that heat off me that I didn't know Greenland wasn't a real country. I was a history major.
Canada, that's a terrible guess.
No, it's a great guess. They only do
No,
winter
it's
sports.
not.
They
We
don't
just
have summers. We just established curling is their winter sport. They don't.
Unbelievable.
It's in
Sorry.
Europe? Really?
What were you drinking last night? Canada. It's in Europe. It's small.
You're small. Score in one-on-one, Greg. Don't get mad. Don't take it out on us because you can't
Yeah,
score one-on-one.
Exactly.
I did score once.
Can you give us a choice of 5 and see if we can get it right together?
Okay. Yeah, I got to think of some different answers first. Okay, I got it. Vatican City, Rwanda, Liechtenstein, Indonesia, Thailand.
You said it's in Europe?
Okay,
What was
so
the-
it's not
you said-
Thailand. Let's cross that out.
Is that from like Dan Housen?
Wow.
I had to come up with extra countries on the spot.
And
Forgot
that's
I had
the
already
one.
said that. I retract.
Hey, at least
Europe.
you didn't correct someone else's geography earlier. My God. Oh, giving me
Maybe
heat for Canada, and you're like, yeah, you know, it's right by Italy.
Maybe I was trying to throw you off there, Tyler.
I'm just gonna say Liechtenstein because that's all I can remember right now.
Sure.
Liechtenstein is correct. Well done. Yeah. I think it's only it's like 25 square kilometers or something. Top place is tiny. And that's my stepdad was always saying that growing up, smallest country in the world. I don't know if it still is, but yeah. All right. That is our show this week. Tune in next Sunday, 8:30 Eastern time. Thanks for listening. Reminder, subscribe to us. You can get the audio version on Spotify, iTunes, but also subscribe to our Patreon. You get to choose topics, can join the show, and it helps support the show as well. All right.
Drink responsibly.
Thank you, Philip. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Coast to Coast podcast is hosted by Greg Gilmore. That's me, Phil Marino. The show is produced and roughly edited by yours truly. Feedback, you can always reach us via email at talkcoasttocoastpodcast@gmail.com. Again, that's talkcoasttocoastpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.